Hi, my name is Dean Barrett. I'm living in Thailand, also known as Land of Beautiful Women, also known as Land of Smiles. I want to talk to you today about men and women and when men bring their wives to Thailand and when they've come for the first time, especially foreigners who come here to Thailand, and they find out how beautiful the women are. It usually leads to trouble in the marriage. I'm going to give you some examples today of problems because women have a different attitude toward men. When you were doing things, what were you doing before you met them? In a man's mind, it's very logical to say, well, before I met the woman I married, nothing counts because after all, I didn't know her. Unfortunately, women don't think that way. They want to know what women you were with way back until you were way back to puberty, basically. And God help you if you ever said you were in love with a woman or something before you met her. Do not do that. So today I want to give you 4 examples of women who were overbearing on this point, but also men who would have been all right had they kept their mouths shut, okay? Because men can be stupid to the point of suicidal, let's face it, all right? So the first one I want to talk about is not mine, not my case. The last 3 will be. But this happened to a friend of mine. We'll call him Bill. He's a Canadian, married to a Canadian lady, or at least he was. And he came to Thailand, and it wasn't long before he was sneaking out to massage parlors, taking girls out to dinner and that sort of thing. And she knew nothing about it, of course. Well, it came that it's his birthday. So she took him up to, wanted to take him out for his birthday. She took him up to one of the tallest buildings in Bangkok, you know, one of these roof gardens with overpriced meal, but a beautiful view of Bangkok. And the waiter came over, and the first thing he did was to hand the waiter the ashtray to take it away. And his wife looked at him and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he looked at her and said, "Oh, you're the smoker." Now that was bad. That was rather stupid because after that, the dinner went downhill and the marriage went downhill. So that was case number 1. Okay, now we get on to cases that involve me. I used to take Thai women, this is in the old days, I used to fly Thai women to Hong Kong. I had a publishing company in Hong Kong. But Thai women were so much more fun than the Cantonese women in Hong Kong because in those days, Cantonese women were a bit uptight. And Thai women liked to flirt, have fun and all that. So I missed them. So I would take them in and immigration would interrogate me, both the British and the Chinese. It was under the British at that time. And they would say, you know, who's she? And I'd say, she's a research assistant. I'm not sure they ever bought that story, but I managed to get them in. So I took this woman whose name was Guy. I took her into Hong Kong for shopping, whatever, for a few days. And then she went back to Chiang Mai, and that was the end of that, I thought. Well, somehow, many years later, I was with a Korean woman, lovely Korean woman, except that she was one of these exceptionally jealous types. And somehow she found out that I had taken Guy from Chiang Mai to Hong Kong, which in those days had a direct flight on Thai International. And she was on my case all the time. She said, I know you took Guy, you did this with Guy, and you did that with Guy. And I took it as long as I could, and I didn't figure it was her business anyway, because that was before I met her. Well, she didn't think that way, as women don't. So finally, I did the worst possible thing you could possibly do in that situation. I'm not sure if you can imagine what it is. But you see, Thai is a tonal language. So what I did, I corrected her tone. I said, it's not Gi, it's Gi. And then the lights went out. That was suicidal mission number 1. If men would just, you know, kind of shut up, we'd be okay. So then I was living in New York with a different woman, Asian woman, and I had to go out and I wanted to write my book. I was writing a book on China called Don Quixote in China, The Search for Peach Blossom Spring. And I decided that, of course, in addition to going to Hong Kong and China for research, I would stop by Thailand. So I did that, and I went back to New York, and she right away lit into me and said, blah, 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 you did this, I'll bet you did that and that. And she said, I know you got laid in Hong Kong, Thailand, and China. And I said, I didn't get laid in Hong Kong. Oops. 哎呀，搞錯，黐線鬼佬唔可以冇搞錯. If men would just shut up, you know what I'm saying? But now the next one was the worst of all. I was stuck in Las Vegas. I was at a Mystery Writers of America conference. My flight had been delayed for a couple of days. And I thought, well, why not go out to the ranches, the brothels, which are basically in the next county? Because in the next county, they're legal, whereas they're not in Las Vegas County. So I decided to get a car and go out there and see what was happening. Well, I love the place. I went out to the Cherry Patch Ranch. You could take your pick, but in those days I just decided to pick that one. And it was a heck of a lot of fun because it's not only a building where the women are, it's also a place where they have like a gift shop and a place where the farmers come and have their dinners and their lunches. It's a farming community out there. And I remember talking to a farmer and his wife, and God, you could tell they were farmers. I mean, their faces were lined and everything, and they were so cool. I can't remember, we're talking about the weather and crops, I think, whatever. I know nothing about weather and crops, but anyway, it's just so cool that you've got customers for a brothel. You've got the ladies who are making a fortune at that time, by the way, who were working out there. And you've got the farmers and this whole mix, and it mixes perfectly in this place. But in the gift shop, they had a T-shirt that said Cherry Patch Ranch. It was red. I thought it would look pretty cool on me, and I wanted to have one. So I bought it, and I think, well, when I go back to New York, there's no way she's going to find this, right? I think I know where to hide it. To make a long story short, she found it within about 3 days, okay? And then she started in on me. And she said, I know you did this and you did that, and you went out to a brothel. And I said, don't be ridiculous. They sell these in the hotel gift shops, in every gift shop in Las Vegas. And maybe they do, for all I know. What would I know? So I convinced her, and she actually apologized to me for doubting my word. Now, had I let it go there, it would have been okay. But men being stupid and suicidal, I felt indignant that she had classified me that way. And I said, do you really think I'm the kind of man who's going to rent a car, go out on North 95 past Cactus Springs and Indian Springs in the damn heat, and eventually make a left on a dirt road with tumbleweed bog, bam, the lights went out, and that was that. So I'm sure if you're a married man, you have your own stories to tell. I have stories from that, and also, of course, Bangkok's Patpong Road, where I was when I first came out to Asia. And as the bar girls used to tell me, you number one, GI. I don't lie you, GI. You number one.
you.